The entire class was attentively engaged in the lesson, but one boy had put a pencil in his mouth, biting down hard. His legs trembled uncontrollably. He could barely hold it in. The teacher shot him a sharp glare and called him up to the front of the class. The boy tried to explain, but the teacher didn't believe him. Only after making him promise not to make any more strange noises did the teacher let him return to his seat. But as soon as he sat down, since the age of 7, the boy had suffered from a strange disorder that caused him to make uncontrollable noises. His classmates treated him as a joke, mocking and bullying him. His teachers saw him as a burden, criticizing and isolating him. Even his own father lost patience, believing the boy was deliberately causing trouble.
Just stop it! Just stop it!
The boy didn't know if his condition was the reason his parents divorced. Before leaving, his father gave his younger brother a deep, affectionate hug. The boy stood to the side, hoping for the same, but after hugging his brother, his father simply stood up. The boy had to take the initiative to move closer, only for his father to casually pat his head and turn away. Later, the school principal called the boy's mother, intending to expel him for disrupting normal lessons.
He can't help it.
Sorry, what did you say?
He said he can't help it.
Right.
What if he's telling the truth?
His mother refused to believe he was misbehaving on purpose and took him to see a psychologist. But even the psychologist couldn't diagnose the cause. If the entire world abandons you, if no one understands you, there is still one person who will always believe in you unconditionally. Your mother. The boy's mother scoured countless books until she finally found an ancient medical text that described his condition. It was called Tourette syndrome. Overjoyed, she brought the book to the doctor. The doctor admitted to a misdiagnosis, but also delivered a harsh reality. There was no cure. Devastated, the mother wept.
It's okay, Mom. I'll get through this, all right?
But she was not one to give up. She refused to let her son suffer from this illness for the rest of his life. She took him to a support group for people with Tourette syndrome. Everyone there had the same disorder, though their symptoms varied. Some stomped their feet, some twitched their necks, some coughed uncontrollably. The mother had hoped her son would learn how they managed their daily lives. However, the group was filled with negativity. People either complained about society's unfairness or resented the way others looked at them. Some even suggested that she should just keep the boy at home. She regretted bringing him there. This was not a support group. It was more like a refuge for patients who had given up.
I'm really so sorry that I brought you there, honey. Let's just forget this.
I don't want to forget this, Mom. These people let Tourette's win. I'm never gonna do that.
Determined, she found him a new school, but the situation remained unchanged. His new classmates bullied and laughed at him, and his new teachers found him unbearable, eventually sending him straight to the principal. The principal looked at the boy sternly and asked what the purpose of school was. The boy was about to apologize, but the principal cut him off, stating that the purpose of school was education, to replace ignorance with knowledge. With that, the principal arranged for the boy to attend a concert. The boy was nervous. He had never dared to participate in such events. Sure enough, during the concert, he couldn't stop making noises, disturbing everyone. The students, teachers, and audience members all stared at him. Some laughed, some glared. He was utterly humiliated. He didn't understand. Why would the seemingly kind principal put him through such an ordeal? After the concert, the principal invited him onto the stage. But instead of reprimanding him, he asked the boy to explain his condition and share his thoughts. For the first time in his life, Cohen spoke his truth.
But you could control it if you wanted to, right?
No, sir. It's a sickness.
Well, why can't you just get cured?
There isn't any cure.
What can we do to help you, Brad?
I just want to be treated like everybody else.
On the way home, his involuntary noises started again, but this time his classmates did not mock him as they usually did. Instead, the room erupted into thunderous applause. Maybe it was encouragement. Maybe it was understanding. Maybe it was respect. Among the continuous claps were countless emotions. Education is a sacred profession. If a child is lucky enough to meet a truly good teacher, their entire life can change. What that principal did planted a quiet seed in the boy's heart. Many years later, the boy grew up. His name was Cohen. Not only did he become charming and confident, but he also graduated from a prestigious university with a degree in education. Thanks to his outstanding performance during his internship, he received a priority job recommendation. The education board arranged interviews for him at various schools. As for his condition, he had a well-prepared explanation.
Hello, this is Brad. A dog. Yes, ma'am, that's my dog.
But when he actually arrived at the interviews, which school would be willing to hire a teacher who might randomly make barking sounds? Cohen faced rejection after rejection. If the first school didn't accept him, he tried the second, then the third. Through it all, he maintained a bright smile. Then he was interviewed by a greasy-faced principal who, after hearing about his condition, bluntly asked how he could be a teacher with an illness like that. Without even looking at Cohen's resume, the principal stated that he could hire him, but only if he promised not to teach during class. Faced with such ignorance and arrogance in the field of education, Cohen kept arguing, trying to reason with the man. However, the principal remained dismissive, repeatedly insisting that Cohen could work there but must not teach in class. Frustrated and furious, Cohen turned and left. Back in his car, his chest burned with resentment. His body convulsed violently from the pent-up emotions. He tried to suppress his involuntary sounds, but they kept coming out like a cruel taunt. He hit himself, bit himself. Nothing could stop it. At that moment, sadness and pain crashed over him like a tidal wave. He broke down completely. Had reality defeated him? In Cohen's dictionary, the words "give up" did not exist. He spread out a map and marked every school in the state. He printed out dozens of resumes, preparing for an all-out job hunt. When someone is truly determined to reach a goal, nothing can stop them. If the principal wasn't available, he left his resume with the janitor. One by one, the circles on his map were crossed out. This was the 25th school. The academic year was about to start, and Cohen was losing hope. He began to feel discouraged. Then, finally, a school extended him an opportunity. The principal and vice principal were both kind. Not only did they not care about Cohen's condition, but they deliberately avoided mentioning it. Instead, they spent 2 hours discussing educational philosophy with him. This was the best interview Cohen had ever had. After multiple rounds of assessments, he was finally given a classroom of his own. He had officially become a teacher, but he had yet to prove that he was a good teacher. With great enthusiasm, he prepared for his first class. However, his students were a group of troublemakers, kids who had been transferred from other classes due to their misbehavior. For the first lesson, Cohen didn't teach from the textbook. Instead, he honestly told his students about his condition and encouraged them to ask any questions they had. A boy asked if his disease was contagious, to which Cohen smiled and replied that it was not. A girl then asked if he could go to the movies, and Cohen chuckled, saying that he could, but he might get kicked out. Another little girl asked if he could eat, and Cohen grinned, assuring them that anything a normal person could do, he could do too. Except for one thing.
Mr. Cohen can never play hide and go seek.
In just one lesson, he broke down the children's defenses through open and equal communication, bridging the gap between them. However, when the parents saw this unusual teacher, they began whispering among themselves. The very next day, one parent firmly demanded that their child be transferred to another class. The little girl adored Cohen, and after being transferred, she would secretly watch his lessons from outside the door. Cohen's heart ached for her, but there was nothing he could do. Many times, the biggest challenge in school education is not the students, it's the parents. In his class, there was a notorious troublemaker, a boy no teacher wanted to deal with. One teacher even warned Cohen, saying the boy had numerous issues: ADHD, OCD, attention deficit disorder, and was completely unsuited for learning. He even suggested that Cohen should just have the boy expelled. But Cohen had heard those same words far too many times in his own childhood. Many teachers had wanted to expel him too. He refused to let another child experience the same rejection. Patiently, Cohen sat down with the boy for a heart-to-heart talk. The boy admitted that he had always hated reading. Cohen responded, he actually hates reading too. Every child with Tourette struggles with attention issues. To help the boy understand, Cohen pretended to have Tourette's himself while asking the boy to start reading.
Once upon a time.
Keep reading.
Upon a time there was a
It's a little bit. All right, keep reading.
there was a
Hey, Thomas! All right, that's hard, isn't it? It's hard to concentrate. That's how hard reading is for me.
The boy remarked that Cohen was so bad at it that, compared to him, reading didn't seem that hard after all. With Cohen's gentle encouragement and companionship, the boy finally started reading with ease. Cohen had saved a child who had been destined for abandonment. One day, Cohen noticed that a little girl in his class was losing more and more hair.
It's just short because of the medicine. Bye.
Cohen's expression froze. Her mother later confirmed the heartbreaking truth. She had leukemia, and the chemotherapy was causing her hair to fall out. Her mother also said that the happiest part of her daughter's life lately was attending Cohen's class. Cohen forced a smile and waved at the girl, but his eyes glistened with tears. A few weeks later, the little girl passed away. Cohen was invited to her funeral, but as he stood at the church entrance, he hesitated. He was afraid that his involuntary sounds would disrupt the solemn ceremony. However, the girl's mother insisted he come inside.
You made such a huge difference in Heather's life. We're her favorite teacher. Please don't leave without saying goodbye to her.
And so, Cohen stepped into the memorial service, his strange vocal tics mixed with quiet sobs. But not a single person in the room judged him, because everyone knew it was this unusual teacher who had accompanied the little girl in the final chapter of her life, bringing warmth to her last days. Back at school, Cohen realized that students shouldn't just be buried in textbooks. So he took them outdoors for hands-on experiences, helping them engage with life. The students grew more and more passionate about learning, just in time for an education inspector to witness it all. After a comprehensive evaluation, Cohen was named the state's Teacher of the Year. His students and fellow teachers applauded him, a moment of profound recognition. At the award ceremony, Cohen stood on stage, as usual, making his involuntary sounds. Then he said that his Tourette's has been his greatest teacher. Just as he was about to explain what it had taught him, his students raised their hands and answered for him.
You learn to keep going.
Eli?
You learn not to let it stop you.
Yes, Thomas.
You learn not to let it win.
In their young voices, they spoke the deepest truth. Encouragement is far more powerful than criticism. What Tourette's had taught Cohen, he had passed on to his students. This film is based on the true story of Brad Cohen. Anyone who has ever been defeated by hardships or felt like giving up should watch it, to reignite their long-lost passion. Because what doesn't kill you can only make you stronger.